Echoes of silence, music genres on the verge of extinction. Hello, everyone, back again with us, Stereopedia. Don't forget to subscribe and to press the bell button to keep getting the latest updates from us.
Echoes of silence, music genres on the verge of extinction. Hello, everyone, back again with us, Stereopedia. Don't forget to subscribe and press the bell button to keep getting the latest updates from us. The evolution of music is a dynamic process shaped by culture, technology, and globalization. While new genres emerge and dominate the mainstream, others gradually fade into obscurity. This article explores several music genres that are nearing extinction, examining their origins, cultural significance, and the reasons behind their decline. Through this study, we aim to understand how musical heritage can be lost and why preserving these art forms matters in the age of digital music and global homogenization. Music, as an expression of cultural identity, has undergone dramatic transformations across centuries. From ancient chants to algorithm-generated pop, the spectrum of musical genres is vast and ever-changing. However, not all genres withstand the test of time. Some fall out of favor due to changing tastes, sociopolitical shifts, or lack of commercial viability. This article discusses music genres that are nearing extinction and highlights the implications of losing these sonic traditions. 1. Tuvan throat singing, kumiai. Tuvan throat singing, known locally as kumiai, is a remarkable vocal tradition that originates from the Tuva Republic, a remote region in southern Siberia near the Mongolian border. What makes kumiai unique is its ability to produce multiple distinct pitches simultaneously, a technique known as overtone singing. In this practice, a singer manipulates their vocal tract to amplify specific harmonics of a fundamental tone, resulting in a melody being heard above a droning bass note. The resulting sound can resemble whistling, growling, or even the wind. Styles and techniques. Kumiai is not a singular style but a family of techniques including sygyt, a high-pitched whistle-like overtone layered over a drone; kargyra, a deep, growling bass sound with rich subharmonics; kumiai narrow sense, a softer, more breathy style with flowing overtones; the zengalir, a rhythmic pulsating style often used to mimic horse riding; borbangator, a trill-like overtone effect evoking the sounds of bubbling water or birds. These techniques are not only musical, but deeply tied to Tuvan animistic spirituality and their intimate relationship with nature. Singers often emulate the sounds of their environment, wind through the mountains, animal calls, or flowing rivers. Traditionally, performances occur outdoors, as the open landscape enhances the acoustics and spiritual connection to nature. Cultural significance. Kumiai is more than an art form. It is an expression of cultural identity and environmental symbiosis. In Tuvan cosmology, the voice connects the human body to the spirits of nature. The ability to mimic natural sounds is seen as a form of respect and communication with the environment. Historically, kumiai was passed down orally, usually within families or clans, and was most often practiced by men. However, women have increasingly taken up the tradition, challenging long-held superstitions that female throat singing could bring misfortune. Threats to survival. Despite gaining some international attention, particularly through world music collaborations and documentaries, kumiai remains endangered for several reasons. Modernization and urbanization. Younger generations are more drawn to pop and Western genres, perceiving kumiai as outdated. A lack of institutional support. While some schools and cultural organizations in Tuva promote kumiai, the infrastructure for sustained preservation is limited. A limited documentation. Due to its oral tradition, much of kumiai's history and nuance are not systematically recorded or notated, making transmission fragile. Cultural dilution. International interest has led to fusion styles that, while innovative, may overshadow or distort traditional forms. Preservation efforts. Several organizations and initiatives are working to protect and promote kumiai. The International Kumiai Symposium held in Kizil, Tuva, attracts musicians and ethnomusicologists worldwide. Groups like Hyunhortu and Alash Ensemble perform globally, raising awareness while adhering to traditional techniques. The UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list includes throat singing as a protected practice, encouraging educational and cultural policies to support it. 2. Gagaku, Japanese imperial court music. Gagaku, meaning elegant music, is the traditional court music of Japan and is considered the oldest continuous orchestral music in the world. Its origins date back to the 7th century, when musical influences from China, Korea, India, and Southeast Asia were introduced to Japan through diplomatic missions and trade during the Nara and Heian periods. Over time, these diverse influences were assimilated and codified into a uniquely Japanese classical style reserved primarily for the imperial court, Shinto rituals, and Buddhist ceremonies. Musical characteristics. Gagaku is characterized by extremely slow tempos that create a meditative and spacious atmosphere. Heterophonic texture, where multiple instruments play variations of a single melody. Monophonic melodic lines accompanied by rhythmic and harmonic drones. Use of pentatonic scales and unique tuning systems that are distinct from Western music. The aesthetic principle behind Gagaku emphasizes elegance, balance, and restraint, qualities that reflect the refined sensibilities of the ancient Japanese court. Instruments used. Gagaku ensembles are composed of 3 instrumental categories. 1. Wind instruments. Osho, a mouth organ producing chords, symbolizes light and the heavens. O Hichiriki, a double reed instrument with a piercing tone, often carrying the melody. O Ryuteki, a transverse bamboo flute representing dragons ascending to the sky. 2. String instruments. O Biwa, a short-necked lute used for rhythmic emphasis. O Kodo, a 13-string zither providing harmonic support. 3. Percussion instruments. O Shoko, a small bronze gong. O Taiko, barrel drums. O Kako, a small double-headed drum played with sticks. Each instrument serves a symbolic and sonic function, contributing to the ritualistic nature of Gagaku performances. Genres within Gagaku. Gagaku encompasses several distinct subgenres. Togaku, Tang music, influenced by Chinese music from the Tang dynasty. Kamagaku, derived from Korean and Manchurian traditions. Kagura, sacred Shinto music and dance performed at shrines. Bagaku, a genre involving dance accompanied by instrumental gagaku. These genres are typically associated with ceremonial contexts, such as imperial enthronements, temple rituals, and seasonal festivals. Cultural and spiritual role. Gagaku is deeply embedded in the ritual life of Japan's aristocracy and religious institutions. Its purpose goes beyond entertainment. It serves as an offering to deities, a means of conveying order and harmony, and a reflection of the celestial realm on earth. Performances are often accompanied by bagaku, court dance, with dancers wearing elaborate masks and costumes, enacting mythological or historic themes. Challenges and decline. Although gagaku continues to be performed in specific ceremonial settings, it is increasingly at risk of marginalization due to a limited accessibility. Performances are typically restricted to formal events or religious contexts, making public engagement rare. Aging practitioners. Mastery of gagaku requires decades of apprenticeship, and few young musicians are willing to commit to its rigorous and esoteric training. A lack of contemporary relevance. The music's abstract nature and slow pacing do not easily resonate with modern audiences accustomed to faster and more dynamic forms. Minimal commercial appeal. Gagaku does not easily lend itself to popular or hybrid forms, limiting its presence in the broader music market. Preservation efforts. Despite these challenges, efforts are underway to preserve and promote gagaku. The Imperial Household Agency maintains the most prominent gagaku ensemble, with musicians specially trained to perform at state and religious functions. Universities and conservatories, such as Tokyo University of the Arts, offer courses in gagaku, though enrollment remains limited. Public concerts and cultural outreach programs seek to educate audiences, often pairing gagaku with lectures or demonstrations. Recording projects and digital archives are making rare performances more accessible to scholars and the public. Gagaku was designated an important intangible cultural property of Japan in 1955, affirming its value to national heritage. 3. Delta blues. The Delta blues is one of the earliest and most influential forms of blues music, originating in the Mississippi Delta region of the United States during the early 20th century. This genre is often regarded as the foundation of modern American music, having directly influenced jazz, rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and hip-hop. Origins and historical context. The Mississippi Delta, a fertile stretch of land between the Mississippi and Yazoo rivers, was home to many African American sharecroppers and laborers in the post-Reconstruction South. The Delta blues emerged as a form of musical expression born out of hardship, oppression, and the everyday struggles of Black Americans in a segregated society. Rooted in African musical traditions, work songs, spirituals, and field hollers, the Delta blues was a deeply personal and emotive genre. It provided a voice for storytelling about love, pain, injustice, and hope. The music was often performed solo or in small groups using minimal instrumentation, reflecting the economic hardships of its practitioners. Musical characteristics. Delta blues is characterized by use of acoustic guitar, typically a resonator or 12-string, often played with a slide or bottleneck technique to create a distinctive wailing sound. Simple but expressive vocal delivery, marked by emotional intensity and rawness. 12-bar blues structure combined with a call-and-response pattern between voice and guitar. Open tunings that allowed players to produce drone notes and complex harmonics. The music's lyrical themes often reflect the social realities of life in the Deep South: poverty, migration, racism, and personal loss. Key figures. Legendary musicians like Robert Johnson, Son House, Charlie Patton, and Blind Lemon Jefferson were pioneers who shaped the Delta blues sound. Robert Johnson's recordings in the 1930s, especially, have become mythic, with stories of his deal with the devil at the crossroads adding to his mystique. These artists not only popularized the genre, but also created a blueprint for future blues and rock musicians worldwide. Decline and endangerment. Despite its foundational status, Delta blues has faced significant decline due to urban migration. As African Americans moved to cities during the Great Migration, they adopted electric blues and other urban styles, leaving acoustic Delta blues behind. Commercialization and genre evolution. The electric Chicago blues of the 1940s and 1950s, which was more commercially viable, overshadowed the rural Delta sound. Changing audience preferences. Younger generations have gravitated towards more contemporary genres, often unfamiliar with the Delta blues' raw simplicity. A lack of new practitioners. The traditional style requires particular vocal and instrumental skills that have been less passed down in modern times. Preservation and revival. While the Delta blues is not completely extinct, it is considered endangered as a living tradition. Several initiatives have sought to preserve and revive this seminal genre. The Delta Blues Museum in Clarksdale, Mississippi, documents its history and educates visitors. A festival such as the Juke Joint Festival celebrate and keep the tradition alive. Modern musicians like R.L. Burnside and C. Mississippi John Hurt, during the blues revival of the 1960s and 70s, brought renewed attention to the genre. Academic studies and ethnomusicology projects have recorded and archived rare performances and oral histories. 4. Zamrock, Zambian rock music. Zamrock is a vibrant yet little-known genre of rock music that originated in Zambia during the late 1960s and flourished throughout the 1970s. It represents a unique fusion of psychedelic rock, funk, traditional African rhythms, and blues. Zamrock developed against the backdrop of Zambia's newfound independence, achieved in 1964, and a youthful desire to express cultural identity through contemporary music. Origins and historical context. Following independence, Zambia experienced a surge of cultural pride and artistic experimentation. Zamrock musicians drew inspiration from Western rock bands like Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, and the Rolling Stones, while incorporating local musical traditions and languages such as Bemba, Nyanja, and Tonga. The genre became a symbol of youthful rebellion, national pride, and a bridge between Western and African musical sensibilities. The capital, Lusaka, served as the epicenter of Zamrock's growth, with clubs and recording studios fostering a vibrant underground scene. Bands like Ricky Illalonga and Museo Tunya, the piece, and Pum Sigidi rose to prominence, delivering electrifying live performances and innovative recordings. Musical characteristics. Zamrock is distinguished by heavy electric guitar riffs combined with psychedelic effects such as fuzz, wah-wah pedals, and distortion. Driving bass lines and dynamic drum patterns influenced by funk and traditional African rhythms. Vocals ranging from soulful melodies to raw, gritty deliveries, often sung in English or local languages. Lyrical themes addressing social issues, political commentary, love, and everyday life in Zambia. The genre's sound balances the intensity of Western rock with the groove and rhythmic complexity of African music, creating a powerful, hypnotic effect. Decline and endangerment. Despite its initial popularity, Zamrock faced near extinction due to a series of socioeconomic and political challenges. Economic decline. The 1970s saw Zambia's copper prices plummet, devastating the economy and reducing resources for artists. Political instability. Government crackdowns and censorship limited artistic expression and public performances. Health crises. The HIV/AIDS epidemic severely impacted the music community, leading to the loss of many pioneering musicians. A lack of recording infrastructure. Many Zamrock recordings were made on low-quality equipment and poorly preserved, causing much of the music to be lost or inaccessible. Shift in musical tastes. By the 1980s, disco, reggae, and Western pop began dominating the airwaves, pushing Zamrock to the margins. As a result, many original Zamrock bands disbanded, and the genre slipped into obscurity. Revival and preservation efforts. In recent years, Zamrock has experienced a modest revival, fueled by international interest in obscure and vintage sounds. Reissues of classic Zamrock albums on vinyl and digital platforms have introduced the genre to new audiences worldwide. Documentaries like Zamrock 2017 have chronicled the genre's history and impact. Contemporary Zambian bands and musicians are incorporating Zamrock elements into their music, bridging past and present. Record labels such as Now Again Records have specialized in curating and promoting Zamrock compilations. Cultural institutions and music historians are working to archive and restore old recordings and memorabilia. 5. Kalinda and early Caribbean folk genres. Kalinda is a traditional form of music and dance deeply rooted in the Afro-Caribbean cultures of the Lesser Antilles, especially Trinidad and Tobago, but also found in other parts of the Caribbean such as Grenada, St. Vincent, and Dominica. It originated from African combat and ritual dances, brought by enslaved Africans, and evolved into a vibrant folk tradition reflecting the resilience, history, and identity of Caribbean peoples. Historical and cultural context. Kalinda's roots trace back to West African martial and healing dances, which were adapted in the New World as forms of social resistance, community cohesion, and cultural expression under colonial oppression and slavery. The dance involves rhythmic stick fighting, symbolizing combat between rivals or spirits, accompanied by distinct vocal and instrumental music. During the colonial period, Kalinda served multiple social functions. As a form of coded communication and resistance under slavery. As a community bonding ritual, often performed during festivals, celebrations, and funerary rites. As a precursor to other Caribbean cultural expressions, such as the steel pan tradition and calypso music. Musical characteristics. Kalinda music features. Call and response singing, often improvised and poetic, addressing social issues, storytelling, or humorous banter. Use of percussion instruments such as the bamboo sticks, tambourines, drums, and sometimes the rumba box. Rhythms based on African polyrhythmic patterns that drive the dance and stick-fighting movements. Melodies and lyrics that incorporate Creole languages and African linguistic elements. The music is interactive, with performers and audience engaging dynamically, often through competitive lyrical exchanges. Decline and threats. Despite its cultural significance, Kalinda and similar early Caribbean folk genres face decline due to several factors. Rise of steel pan and soca music. The emergence and commercialization of the steel pan in the 20th century, followed by the popularity of soca, shifted cultural attention away from older folk traditions like Kalinda. Urbanization and modernization. Younger generations in urban centers gravitate toward modern and global musical styles, perceiving folk genres as outdated. A limited documentation. Much of Kalinda's history and repertoire was transmitted orally, and formal preservation efforts have been minimal. Colonial and post-colonial cultural marginalization. For years, Kalinda was discouraged or suppressed by colonial authorities and later overshadowed by national cultural policies favoring newer music. Preservation and contemporary relevance. In recent decades, there has been growing recognition of Kalinda's cultural importance. Cultural festivals in Trinidad and other islands now include Kalinda performances to preserve and showcase this tradition. Ethnomusicologists and folklorists have begun documenting Kalinda songs, dances, and histories. Revival groups and cultural organizations actively teach Kalinda to younger generations. Some modern Caribbean artists incorporate Kalinda rhythms and themes into their music as a form of cultural homage. Preserving Kalinda is vital for maintaining the rich tapestry of Caribbean heritage, as it represents not only musical tradition but also the historical experiences of Afro-Caribbean communities. Causes of extinction. Several factors contribute to the decline of these genres. Globalization. Homogenization of taste through streaming platforms prioritizes popular genres. Commercial viability. Niche genres struggle in a market-driven industry. A lack of transmission. As elder musicians pass away, knowledge is not always passed down. Technological changes. New instruments and production techniques can make traditional sounds seem obsolete. Efforts toward preservation. Despite challenges, several initiatives aim to preserve endangered music genres. Ethnomusicology programs are documenting and archiving rare musical forms. Cultural grants and festivals promote traditional music in local and international settings. Digital archives and crowdsourced recordings offer renewed access to rare performances. As music continues to evolve, it is essential to remember and preserve its roots. The extinction of a genre represents not just the loss of a sound, but the erasure of cultural memory and identity. Through education, preservation, and renewed appreciation, these fading genres can be safeguarded, not as relics, but as living traditions deserving of space in the global soundscape. Thanks for tuning in to Stereopedia. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit too. Got thoughts or questions? Drop them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring, only here on Stereopedia.